This is One-on-One. Hi, I'm Steve Adubato, not in the studio, but at the AT&T Global Network Operations Center. We're here with Michael Singer, AVP, Mobile Cloud Access Management Security, AT&T Business Marketing. You have a long and very important title, do you not?
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. You know, there's a lot of areas where we want to grow and develop new capabilities, and that title says some of those places we're going. You know, mobile's very important, cloud's very important, access management. So we're kind of spread where we have capabilities in the security area.
Yeah, we're at the GNOC, if you will. Again, for those who have not seen our other segments from the GNOC, put the GNOC in perspective. It is?
This is a one-of-a-kind global network operations center. It's where they have all the intelligence and the visibility into what's going on worldwide on AT&T's global network.
Great. There are several areas I want to touch on, Michael. Issues of security. There was a worm back in 2003, an SQL slammer worm, a computer worm. Just as an example, was a real problem. How does the security operation that we're talking about deal with that? How does GNOC deal with that? And why is that so significant?
Well, that particular worm in January 2003 was considered a big wake-up call because it was a worm that went around the world in very little time, infected lots and lots of systems that people wouldn't have expected to be vulnerable to this sort of a thing, a flash worm spreading around the world. Those machines then spent all their time generating more of that traffic to try to infect other users. And when we saw how quickly it spread around the world, how much traffic was being generated, we made a conscious decision going forward that we're going to watch for these worms spreading across the internet.
How do you see them?
It's traffic analysis, so flow data, net flow data, and we have an expected value for all the protocols and ports, just like the rest of the NOC has expected calls and expected text messages.
NOC, the Network Operations Center.
So we're using their approach that they've been using for decades. We've been doing that in the 21st century for cybersecurity. And you spot these spikes in traffic, and then an analyst will dig in and say, well, what's that all about? You know, what software uses that protocol and port? Is there a vulnerability in that software? Does it look like it's spreading? That we have the worm algorithm, the spreading from one to many.
A worm algorithm? Are you serious?
Yeah, and worm alarms pop out of the worm algorithm. So we started watching for worms, and then the next big change was to bots.
To bots?
So robot, you know, a computer that is being used by someone else. They're remotely controlling it. It's their bot that they own. And these bot operators or bot masters, you know, bot herders, they're also called. You know, we see their activity every day. We started out watching IRC channels because that's where they were doing their communication.
IRC channels.
Yeah, Internet Relay Chat was a kind of like a backdoor way to have these computers all talking to each other and controlling these computers around the world. And we saw the attackers make it shift. They shifted to HTTP traffic where they could hide with all the web traffic the browsers have. So we're watching IRC botnets still, but also a whole new set of web-based botnets.
You're constantly trying to stay ahead of these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they are very innovative. They're very fast. So we do our best to be innovative and fast. We have a bot algorithm. There you go, watching these bots. And then we see the different characteristics of different bots out on the net, what they're up to. We want to make sure that AT&T has a lot of address space. We want to make sure that we aren't contributing.
What does that mean, address space?
So the internet, you have IP addresses. The old addresses were kind of short, you know, 4 blocks of numbers, IPv4. The new ones are really long, have numbers and letters. So we, as an operator and a carrier, are responsible for a very large block of internet address space that we're using for our network, or our customers are using it. And we want to make sure that we're not out there spreading malware. We're not out there spreading worms. We're not out there controlling these botnets from our space. So we want to look at that data as it's coming in and make sure that if there are issues, the same day, you know, right as we're seeing it, we're taking care of those problems.
What do you do? I mean, you say taking care of it. Explain it from a consumer, customer point of view. What do you do?
Okay. Now, it depends on who's responsible for that asset. If it's an AT&T asset, obviously we have more control. We have support groups who are already responsible for that asset, but we're going to notify them minutes after something happens.
Sometimes you deal with the government on these issues. Your operation has helped government agencies.
Well, we have a service that government agencies can buy through a networks program. And then we'll help their SOC, their Security Operations Center. So consumers, we did something special for just this year. In March, we launched what we call Bot or Not.
Bot or not, you guys have more programs, bot or not.
Bot or not. So if you have AT&T's internet service and you want to know, hey, is my account, my system, is it participating in any of these bots you're watching? We'll give you the answer, yes or no, right now. You might need to check again later. And if we see that you're participating, we give you those instructions, those tips. Try this yourself. See if you can get your machine where it's not part of this botnet anymore. And then it goes all the way up to even someone helping you remotely, or depending on where you live, coming and helping you at your own home.
Could someone who doesn't have the technological cyber expertise manage this themselves?
It is complex, okay, and you do have to have some like system administrator type of skills to run the scans. And maybe that one didn't catch anything, and then you run another scan to make sure that the malware is removed. Can you just create another profile? You need to re-image. Re-imaging is pretty heavy duty for your average user, so it does require some technical capability. But in bot or not, we help them. So AT&T people are there.
User-friendly.
Easier, absolutely.
By the way, get us up to speed. Let's talk about the most advanced threats today.
Okay, so if you follow the progression from worms that kind of sloppily spread, and then these botnet operators, a little craftier, the latest threats, we call them advanced threats, sometimes they call them advanced persistent threats, advanced evasive threats, they really take a different approach. They don't want to make a lot of noise. They don't scan all the addresses out there on the internet. They aren't looking for 1 million targets. They look for a handful. Maybe the person who runs your organization. And they do some homework. What's available publicly on the internet? What can I find out about this person? And then they write usually a phishing message. We call it a spear phishing message because it's written just for that target. And they'll send that message. They'll spoof that it's from somebody they know. Right. The subject makes sense. And if they open it, they put a remote access tool on that machine. So that level of sophistication is what we're referring to as.
How are you dealing with that?
Well, you have a chance to get it when it's coming in mail. You have a chance to do it through user awareness. If something doesn't look right, your people are really very important in all of this. But then we also look back at that network flow data. And we say, do we see activity that looks like data being exfiltrated? Or do we see users, systems talking to what we know to be bad domains that these advanced actors are using? And if you see them using that, that's one of those actionable alerts. You want to go out and take care of that machine right away.
Real quick, before I let you go, advice to consumers out there?
Well, I would say don't think that when you connect something to the internet that it's okay. Expect there to be trouble. Expect to get scanned in minutes if you put a machine out on the internet.
You're saying expect that?
Expect that. Expect there to be constant attempts knocking on the door. Think of it as knocking on the door.
Don't be surprised.
Don't be surprised. Expect millions. We see millions and millions of those every day. So you should expect that people are going to be trying to attack anything you put on the internet. And on the business side, if you have internet-facing infrastructure that's important, you need to think about protecting it from denial of service attacks because those are very common. Those who haven't seen one, it's probably just a matter of what day it is that they're going to see one. If you're running email infrastructure, you can expect that day when you're going to get a flood of messages into your email infrastructure. So you should expect those scenarios and even plan for them. Have like a disaster plan and exercise it a couple times a year. Come up with more creative, tougher scenarios and try to deal with those.
That's why you guys work 24/7 to stay ahead of these guys. Thank you very much, Michael.
You're very welcome, Steve. Take care.
Appreciate it.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One has been provided by the New Jersey Education Association, Wells Fargo, New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group, the law firm of Gibbons PC, Cohn Resnick, and by New Jersey Natural Gas. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been produced in partnership with St. Joseph's Healthcare System. This program has been made possible in part by New Jersey Institute of Technology.